The alarm buzzed through the monitoring station like an angry wasp. Commander Velthar's 3 eyes focused on the display screen, his purple skin turning a darker shade as confusion set in. For the past 50 years, he had watched the Void Nexus. Nothing ever moved in that cursed region of space. Nothing could move there. "Check the sensors again," Velthar ordered his assistant. His voice carried the weight of someone who had seen too many false readings over the decades. The young technician, barely past his first molting, tapped the controls with nervous fingers. "Sir, I have run the check 3 times. The reading remains the same. There is definitely something in the Void Nexus." Velthar walked closer to the main screen. The Void Nexus stretched before them like a wound in space itself. Stars bent around its edges in impossible ways. Light moved in circles instead of straight lines. Reality itself seemed broken in that place. For 3,000 years, no ship had entered the Nexus and returned. Most ships that tried simply vanished. The few that came back carried crews driven, mad by what they had seen. "What kind of energy signature?" Velthar asked. "Fusion drive, sir. Very basic, very primitive." Velthar's mandibles clicked together in disbelief. "Fusion! That technology is older than my grandfather's grandfather. No one uses fusion drives anymore." "Yes, sir. But the signature is clear. Someone is using a fusion drive inside the Void Nexus." The commander stared at the screen. A small dot moved slowly through the twisted space of the Nexus. It moved like any normal ship would move through normal space. But this was not normal space. This was a place where the laws of physics went to die. Deep inside the Void Nexus, Jiho wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked on the ship's failing systems. The Perseverance groaned around him like a tired old man. Warning lights flashed red across the engine room. Nothing seemed to work the way it should. "Captain," Jiho spoke into his communicator. "The engines are acting strange again. The magnetic field keeps shifting for no reason." Captain Tae-hyun's voice crackled back through the speaker. "Can you fix it?" "I am trying, sir, but it is like the space around us keeps changing. The readings make no sense." Jiho had been an engineer for 15 years. He had fixed engines in the cold of deep space and the heat of solar storms. But this was different. The ship's instruments showed impossible readings. The gravity sensors said they were falling and rising at the same time. The radiation detectors screamed warnings about energy that should not exist. "Just keep us moving," Tae-hyun replied. "We need to get through this nebula field." Jiho almost laughed. Nebula field. That was what they called it. To the crew of the Perseverance, this was just a thick cloud of cosmic dust and gas. They had encountered dozens of such fields in their journey from Earth. This one was denser than most, and the interference was stronger. But it was still just a nebula field. Back at the monitoring station, more alarms began to sound. Velthar's communication board lit up with incoming messages from across the galaxy. Word was spreading fast about the impossible ship in the void. "Nexus, sir," the technician said, his voice shaking. "The Galactic Council is requesting immediate confirmation of our readings." Velthar sighed. The Council would want answers he did not have. How could he explain that a ship using 1,000-year-old technology was flying through space that destroyed ships with reality-bending weapons? "Send them our sensor data," he ordered. "All of it. Let them see for themselves." The technicians' fingers danced over the controls. Within minutes, the sensor readings were transmitted across the galaxy. Velthar knew that within hours, every major civilization would be debating what they were seeing. On the Perseverance, Communications Officer Nari sat at her station, trying to make sense of the strange signals her equipment was picking up. The radio waves seemed to bend and twist as they moved through space. Some signals appeared to come from directions that had no stars. "Captain," she called out, "I am receiving some very strange transmissions." Tae-hyun walked over to her station. "What kind of transmissions?" "I am not sure, sir. The computer cannot identify the language or the technology. It is like nothing in our databases." Nari had studied every known form of communication used by humans. Radio, laser, quantum entanglement, gravitational waves. These signals used methods she had never seen before. The mathematics were wrong. The physics were impossible. "Could they be natural phenomena?" Tae-hyun asked. "I do not think so, sir. They have structure, pattern. Someone is definitely sending them on purpose." Admiral Hyun joined them at the communication station. His old face was lined with concern. "Could we be picking up signals from Earth?" "No, sir," Nari replied. "These signals are coming from somewhere nearby. Very nearby." What Nari did not know was that the strange signals were coming from the monitoring station. Velthar's people were trying to scan the human ship with every sensor they had. To the humans, these scans appeared as random radio noise mixed with impossible physics. Pilot Isol struggled with the ship's navigation systems in the cockpit. The stars refused to stay in their proper places. Constellations that should be fixed, points of reference kept shifting and moving. The computer kept giving her error messages about impossible stellar positions. "The navigation system has gone crazy," she reported to the bridge. "According to our instruments, we are flying through a region of space that does not exist." "What do you mean?" Tae-hyun asked. "The star maps show nothing here, sir. No stars, no planets, no cosmic phenomena, but we can clearly see stars outside the windows." Isul had been flying ships since she was 18 years old. She had navigated through asteroid fields, solar storms, and the gravitational chaos around, black holes. But she had never seen space behave like this. It was as if they were flying through a dream where the normal rules did not apply. Engineer Minho joined Jiho in the engine room. Together, they worked to keep the ship's systems functioning. The reactor was stable, but everything else seemed to be fighting against them. "The artificial gravity keeps fluctuating," Minho reported. "The life support systems are working overtime to compensate for atmospheric changes that should not be happening." "I know," Jiho replied, his hands deep in an access panel. "It is like the ship is being pulled in 12 different directions at once." What they did not realize was that their ship was indeed being pulled in multiple directions. The Void Nexus contained gravity wells that pointed in impossible directions. Space-time itself was twisted into knots that would have torn apart any normal ship. But somehow, the Perseverance continued flying through it all. At the monitoring station, Velthar received his first response from the Galactic Council. The message was brief and to the point. "Impossible. Check your equipment." He checked the equipment again. The readings remained the same. A primitive fusion ship was flying through the most dangerous region of known space. It was moving slowly but steadily, as if it were taking a casual journey through normal space. "Sir," the technician said, "should we try to contact them?" Velthar considered this. The protocols were clear. No contact with unknown vessels until they had been properly identified and cleared by the Council. But these were not normal circumstances. Not yet, he decided. Let us see where they are going first. The small dot on his screen continued its impossible journey through the Void Nexus. Velthar watched it with a mixture of fear and fascination. Either his sensors were completely wrong, or the galaxy was about to discover something that would change everything they thought they knew about space travel. The impossible ship flew on, carrying its crew of humans who had no idea they were, doing something that the greatest minds in the galaxy considered completely impossible. The great chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from 47 different species argued over the sensor data from the Void Nexus monitoring station. Some shouted in languages that sounded like music. Others communicated through color changes in their skin. A few spoke in mathematical equations that appeared as floating symbols in the air. Ambassador Zethkal of the Ethereal Collective rose from his crystalline seat. His body was made of pure energy, held together by advanced technology. When he spoke, his words appeared as bright patterns of light. "This is clearly a malfunction," he announced. "Our consciousness-based sensors would have detected any living beings in the Void Nexus. We have monitored that region for 2,000 years. Nothing with a mind can survive there." Across the chamber, the representative of the Machina Syndicate disagreed. Unit designation XK7742 was a perfectly designed artificial intelligence housed in a body of liquid metal. Its voice was precise and emotionless. Probability calculations indicate a 0.003% chance of survival in the Void Nexus using primitive fusion technology. This percentage rounds to 0 for practical purposes. The sensor readings must be in error. Chancellor Mordoon, a tall reptilian being with green scales, called for order. As the current leader of the council, he had seen many strange phenomena in his long career, but nothing quite like this. "The monitoring station has been reliable for 50 years, he said. "Commander Velthar is not known for making mistakes. We must consider that the readings might be accurate." This statement caused an uproar. Representatives began arguing loudly in their various forms of communication. The chamber filled with noise, light, and clouds of pheromones. Meanwhile, aboard the Perseverance, Admiral Hyan stood on the bridge, studying the strange readings on the navigation display. The veteran officer had commanded ships for 30 years, but had never seen anything like this. "How long until we clear this nebula?" he asked pilot Isol. "At our current speed, approximately 18 hours, sir," she replied. "But the interference is getting stronger. The navigation computer keeps giving conflicting readings." Hyan nodded. Deep space could be unpredictable. Magnetic storms, gravitational anomalies, and dense particle fields were all part of space travel. This nebula was just more difficult than most. Communications officer Nari was busy at her station, trying to decode the strange signals she had been receiving. The patterns were becoming clearer, but they still made no sense. "Admiral," she called, "out. I think someone is trying to communicate with us." Hyan walked over to her console. "What makes you think that?" "The signals have mathematical structure. Look at this pattern." She pointed to her screen, which showed a series of repeating symbols. "These numbers follow a sequence. Prime numbers." "Sir, someone is broadcasting prime numbers." "Could it be another human ship?" "I do not think so, sir. The transmission method is completely unknown. It uses principles that our science has never discovered." What Nari did not know was that she was receiving signals from dozens of different monitoring stations across the galaxy. As word of the impossible ship spread, more and more civilizations were pointing their sensors at the Void Nexus. Each new scan added to the confusion of signals reaching the Perseverance. Back in the council chamber, the argument continued. Representative Killmoth of the Harmony Covenant, a being that looked like a walking tree with silver bark, tried to restore calm. Perhaps we should consider sending a probe to investigate, Killmoth suggested. If there truly is a ship in the Void Nexus, we need to understand how it is possible. A waste of resources, declared Ambassador Vextar of the Trade Federation. His cybernetic implants glowed red as he spoke. No probe has ever returned from the Void Nexus. We would learn nothing except how to destroy expensive equipment, Unit. XK7742 processed the debate with cold logic. If these readings are accurate, they represent a fundamental breakthrough in physics. The potential value of such knowledge would exceed the cost of any investigation. The ethereal collective representative flickered with annoyed patterns. You speak of breakthroughs as if some primitive species could surpass our understanding. We have existed for millions of years. Our science is perfect. No science is perfect, Chancellor Morden replied. That is why we continue to learn. On the Perseverance, Engineer Jiho was having a very bad day. The ship's systems continued to malfunction in ways that made no sense. The reactor was stable, but everything connected to it acted strangely. Minho, he called to his assistant, come look at this gravity generator reading. Minho crawled out from under a control panel, oil stains on his uniform. What is wrong? Now? According to these sensors, we are experiencing gravitational forces from 7 different directions. That is impossible. Maybe the sensors are broken? I checked them twice. They are working perfectly, but they are detecting gravity that should not exist. The 2 engineers stared at the impossible readings. In their training on Earth, they had learned that gravity always pulled in one direction, toward the largest nearby mass. But here, their instruments showed gravitational fields pointing up, down, left, right, and in directions that did not even have names. Should we report this to the captain? Minho asked. What would we tell him? That the laws of physics have stopped working? In the medical bay, Dr. Junho was examining the crew for any signs of radiation sickness or other space-related illnesses. The dense nebula they were passing through might contain dangerous particles. How do you feel? He asked Security Chief Kyung, who was sitting on the examination table. Fine, sir. A little dizzy sometimes, but nothing serious. Any nausea? Headaches? Unusual dreams? No, sir. Just the dizziness when I move too fast. Dr. Junho made notes on his tablet. Several crew members had reported similar symptoms. Mild disorientation, occasional dizziness, and a strange feeling that time was moving differently. He attributed it to the stress of long-distance space travel. What he did not know was that the crew of the Perseverance was experiencing the effects of traveling through distorted space-time. The Void Nexus twisted reality in ways that would have driven most species insane, but humans, for reasons no one yet understood, seemed to adapt to these impossible conditions. The Galactic Council debate grew more heated as representatives demanded action. Some wanted to send a fleet to investigate. Others insisted the readings were false and should be ignored. A few suggested that the monitoring station itself might be malfunctioning and should be replaced. Ambassador Yelnara of the Seeker Alliance, a tall, thin being with 4 arms and silver skin, offered a different perspective. What if the readings are accurate? She asked. What if there really is a ship in the Void Nexus? Should we not try to help them? Help what? The ethereal representative flashed. If something is in the Nexus, it is either already dead or completely insane. There is no help for such beings. You assume that whatever is in there follows the same rules we do, Yelnara replied. What if they are different? What if they can survive where we cannot? This suggestion caused another round of arguments. The idea that some unknown species might be superior to the great civilizations of the galaxy was unthinkable to many representatives. Chancellor Morden called for a vote. All in favor of sending an investigation probe to the Void Nexus? The votes came in through various methods: light patterns, sound frequencies, chemical releases, and digital transmissions. When counted, the result was close, but clear. The motion passes by 3 votes, Morden announced. We will send a probe to investigate the anomalous readings. On the Perseverance, biologist Sora was studying samples of cosmic dust that the ship's collectors had gathered from the nebula. Under her microscope, the particles looked ordinary enough, but their behavior was strange. These dust grains are moving in patterns, she reported to the bridge. It is almost like they are alive. Cosmic dust cannot be alive, Captain Tae-hyun replied through the communicator. I know, sir, but these particles are organizing themselves into complex structures. I have never seen anything like it. What Sora was observing were the effects of reality distortion on matter at the quantum level. In the Void Nexus, even dust particles behaved according to different physical laws. But to a human biologist, it simply looked like very strange cosmic dust. The council session finally ended with plans to launch an investigation probe within 48 hours. As representatives departed, the galaxy buzzed with rumors and speculation about the impossible ship in the Void Nexus. Some species prepared their most advanced sensors to observe the investigation. Others placed bets on whether the probe would find anything at all. A few began making plans for what they would do if the readings proved accurate. Far from all this debate and confusion, the Perseverance continued its steady journey through what its crew believed was just an unusually dense nebula field. They had no idea that their simple voyage had already changed the course of galactic history. The joint investigation fleet gathered at the edge of the Void Nexus like hunters circling a dangerous prey. 12 ships from the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had assembled in just 2 days. Each vessel carried the latest in sensor technology and reality stabilization equipment. Xenobiologist Keth Ara stood on the bridge of the lead ship, her 6 tentacles moving in nervous patterns. As the foremost expert on impossible life forms, she had been chosen to lead the scientific mission. Her purple skin had turned pale with worry. "Deploy the quantum sensors," she ordered. "I want to know everything about that region before we send in the probe." The sensor array unfolded like a metallic flower. Invisible beams of energy reached toward the Void Nexus, trying to penetrate its twisted space. The readings that came back made the scientists on board question their instruments. "Ma'am," reported the sensor operator, a young crystalline whose body sparkled with confusion. "The quantum structure of space itself is wrong in there. Matter exists in multiple states simultaneously. Cause and effect operate in reverse." "That is what the Nexus does," Cathara replied. "But show me the impossible ship." The main screen displayed a 3-dimensional map of the Nexus. Most of it was colored red, indicating lethal conditions. But moving through the center was a small green dot. "There," the operator pointed with a beam of light from his crystal matrix. "The fusion signature is getting stronger. Whatever it is definitely real." On the Perseverance, Engineer Menho was having another argument with the ship's computer. The navigation system insisted they were flying through empty space, but the windows clearly showed strange, twisted nebula formations outside. "Computer, run diagnostic on visual sensors," he commanded. "Visual sensors operating normally," the artificial voice replied. "No obstructions detected in flight path." Minho looked out the nearest window. Streams of glowing gas flowed past the ship in impossible spirals. Some formations looked like geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. "The computer said there was nothing there. Jiho," he called to the chief engineer. "Come look at this." Jiho climbed down from the reactor maintenance shaft, his hands covered in engine grease. "What now?" "The computer says we are flying through empty space, but look outside." Both men stared through the window at the beautiful and terrifying landscape of the void nexus. To their human eyes, it was just an unusual nebula with some strange optical effects. They had no idea they were looking at space where the normal laws of physics had broken down completely. "Maybe the nebula is affecting our sensors," Jiho suggested. "Dense particle fields can cause all sorts of interference." The investigation fleet deployed its probe with great ceremony. The small unmanned vehicle was equipped with every protection the galaxy's scientists could devise. Reality anchors to maintain stable physics, quantum shields to protect against spatial distortions, emergency recall systems in case something went wrong. "Probe launch in 10 seconds, announced the fleet commander. "All ships maintain safe distance." The probe shot forward into the void nexus like a silver bullet. For 30 seconds, it transmitted perfect data. Then the signals became garbled. Then they stopped completely. "We have lost contact," reported the communications officer. Cathara's tentacles curled in frustration. "How long did it survive?" 47 seconds. Better than most, but not by much. On the Perseverance, pilot Isolde was struggling with course corrections. The ship kept drifting to the left despite her efforts to fly straight. Every time she adjusted their heading, something pushed them back off course. "Captain," she reported, to the bridge, "we have a persistent course deviation. It is like something is pulling us toward the center of the nebula." "Can you compensate?" Captain Tae-hyun asked. "I am trying, sir, but the gravitational readings make no sense. According to our instruments, the strongest gravity source is directly ahead of us, but there is nothing there on our charts." What Isul-I did not know was that the Perseverance was being drawn toward the exact center of the void nexus, the most dangerous region in known space. To her, it felt like flying toward a large but invisible planet. The investigation fleet tried sending a second probe, this one equipped with even more protective technology. It lasted 93 seconds before disappearing. A third probe made. It almost 2 minutes before its signals became impossible to interpret. "The Nexus is consuming our probes faster than we can build them," reported the fleet's chief scientist, a tall geometric whose body was made of living mathematical equations. Cathara studied the data from the failed probes. "But look at these readings from just before we lost contact. The probes detected something large moving through the central region." "Define large," requested the commander. "Approximately 100 meters long. Metallic construction. Definitely artificial." Hush fell over the fleet. For the first time, they had proof that something was actually in the void nexus, something built by intelligent beings. On the Perseverance, Communications Officer Nari was making progress with the strange signals. She had identified 17 different transmission sources, all using technologies unknown to human science. "Admiral Hyun," she called out, "I think I have decoded part of these transmissions." The Admiral joined her at the communications station. "What do they say?" "It is mostly numbers and coordinates, but some of the patterns look like scanning protocols." "Sir, I think someone is studying us." "Studying us? Who?" "I do not know, but these signals are definitely intentional. Someone out there knows we exist and is trying to learn about us." Nari was correct. The investigation fleet was bombarding the Perseverance with every type of scan they could think of. To the humans, these scans appeared as random radio noise, mixed with strange mathematical patterns. Engineer Jiho was deep in the ship's maintenance tunnels when he made a disturbing discovery. The hull plating was changing color in some sections. Metal that should be gray was showing patches of blue and green. "Minho!" he shouted. "Get down here!" His assistant crawled through the tunnel to join him. "What is wrong?" "Look at this hull section. Is it just me, or is the metal changing color?" They both stared at the hull plating. Slowly, very slowly, patches of metal were shifting from gray to blue to green and back again. "Maybe it is some kind of chemical reaction," Minho suggested. "The nebula might contain corrosive particles. I have never seen a chemical reaction like this. It is like the metal is alive." What they were seeing was the effect of reality distortion on matter at the atomic level. In the void nexus, even the most stable materials could exist in multiple states simultaneously. But to the human engineers, it just looked like very strange corrosion. The investigation fleet was now in heated debate about their next move. Half the scientists wanted to retreat and report their findings to the Council. The other half wanted to send a manned mission into the Nexus. "We have confirmed that something is in there," argued Commander Velkan of the military escort. "That is enough. Let the Council decide what to do next." "But we still do not know what it is," Kethara replied. "Is it a ship? A space station? A life form we have never encountered? We need more information." The fleet's AI advisor, unit designation, QR9934, offered a logical perspective. "Probability of successful manned mission into Void Nexus remains at 0.01%. However, potential value of information gained approaches infinite." While the investigation fleet argued, the Perseverance continued its journey toward the center of the Nexus. The crew had no idea they were heading for the most dangerous location in the galaxy. To them, it was just another leg of their long voyage from Earth. Dr. Junho was conducting his daily health checks on the crew. So far, everyone seemed to be adapting well to their journey through the dense nebula. A few people reported strange dreams, but nothing serious. "Any unusual symptoms?" he asked Security Chief Kyung. "Just the weird dreams, sir. I keep dreaming that I can see through walls." "Stress dreams are normal during long voyages," Dr. Junho assured him. "Try to get more rest." What Dr. Junho did not know was that Kyung's dreams were actually a side effect of exposure to multi-dimensional space. In the Void Nexus, the boundaries between different realities were thin. Humans, unlike other species, seemed able to perceive these overlapping dimensions without losing their sanity. The investigation fleet finally reached a compromise. They would deploy a heavily shielded observation post at the edge of the Nexus and monitor the mysterious ship from a safe distance. If it emerged from the Nexus, they would attempt contact. If it was destroyed, they would at least have learned something about the limits of survival in that region. "Deploy the observation platform," ordered Fleet Commander Velkan. "Full sensor suite, maximum shielding." The platform unfolded like a metal lotus flower. Within minutes, it was tracking the fusion signature of the Perseverance with unprecedented accuracy. On the human ship, biologist Sora made another puzzling discovery. The cosmic dust samples she had been studying were now forming complex crystalline structures. Under the microscope, they looked almost like tiny cities. "Captain," she reported, "I think this nebula contains some form of organized matter. The dust particles are building structures." "What kind of structures?" Taehyun asked. "It looks like architecture," Very small but definitely artificial, as if the dust itself is intelligent. Captain Tai-hyun Far. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 6 hours without a break. Representatives from across the galaxy participated through holographic projections, creating a rainbow of alien forms in the Great Chamber. The debate was no longer about whether something existed in the Void Nexus. Now they argued about what to do about it. Chancellor Morden struck his ceremonial gong to restore order. His reptilian features showed the strain of managing 47 different species, each with their own opinions about first contact protocols. The investigation fleet has confirmed the presence of an artificial construct in the Void Nexus, he announced. We must now decide how to proceed. Ambassador Zeth Cole of the Ethereal Collective flickered with agitated light patterns. The first contact protocols are clear. No communication with unknown species until they have been properly evaluated for hostile intent. But these beings are clearly not hostile, argued Representative Killmoth of the Harmony Covenant. They are simply traveling through space. They have made no aggressive moves. Unit XK-7-742 of the Machina Syndicate processed the debate with cold logic. The beings have demonstrated technology that violates our understanding of physics. This suggests either advanced knowledge or fundamental differences in their interaction with reality. Both possibilities require careful study. On the Perseverance, Captain Tae-hyun stood on the bridge, watching the strange formations outside grow more complex. The nebula around them had begun forming geometric patterns that seemed almost architectural. It was beautiful and unsettling. At the same time, "Communications," he called to Nari. "Any progress on those strange signals?" "Yes, sir," she replied, excitement in her voice. "I have isolated 17 different transmission sources. They are definitely trying to communicate, but using methods completely unknown to us." "What kind of methods?" "Some use quantum entanglement patterns. Others manipulate gravitational waves. One source appears to be sending messages by altering the color of nearby starlight. Our equipment can detect these signals, but I have no idea how anyone could generate them." What Nari did not know was that she was receiving communications from the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Each species was trying to establish contact using their most sophisticated technology. To the humans, it all appeared as fascinating, but incomprehensible scientific phenomena. "Can we respond?" Tae-hyun asked. "I have been trying, sir. I sent out mathematical sequences using our standard radio transmitters. Prime numbers, basic arithmetic, that sort of thing." In the council chamber, the first confirmation of human communication had arrived just minutes earlier. The investigation fleet reported receiving primitive radio transmissions from inside the Void Nexus. "They are using electromagnetic radiation," reported the fleet's communication specialist through a holographic connection. "Very basic technology, but the mathematical content is sophisticated. They clearly understand advanced mathematics." This revelation sent shockwaves through the council. Not only were the impossible beings alive and intelligent, but they were trying to communicate using methods that should not work in the Void Nexus. Ambassador Yelnara of the Seeker Alliance raised one of her 4 arms. "If they are attempting communication, do we not have an obligation to respond? The Universal Ethics Code requires us to acknowledge peaceful contact attempts." "The code applies to known space," snapped Ambassador Vextar of the Trade Federation. "The Void Nexus is specifically excluded from all treaties and agreements. We have no legal obligations there." Chancellor Morden considered this. The legal situation was indeed complex, The Void Nexus had been declared off-limits by unanimous vote 3,000 years ago. No laws applied there because no one was supposed to be there. On the Perseverance, Engineer Jiho was dealing with a new crisis. The ship's artificial gravity was fluctuating wildly. One moment everyone weighed normal. The next, they were floating in zero gravity. "Captain," he reported from the engine room, "the gravity generator is receiving conflicting signals. It is like something outside the ship is trying to control our internal gravity." "Can you compensate?" Taehyun asked. "I am trying, sir. But whatever is affecting us is using technology far beyond anything in our databases." The investigation fleet was, indeed, trying to scan the human ship using gravitational probes. To their advanced sensors, the Perseverance was an impossible object, a primitive vessel that should have been crushed by the Nexus environment hours ago. "The ship's hull is made of simple iron and carbon composites," reported the fleet's materials specialist. "There is no exotic matter, no reality anchors, no protective fields, yet it continues to function normally." Xenobiologist Kethara studied the readings with growing amazement. How are they surviving? Their technology is thousands of years behind ours, yet they are doing something we cannot do. The answer came from an unexpected source. Linguistic specialist Yuna aboard the Perseverance had been analyzing the strange transmissions from a different angle. As an expert in human languages and communication theory, she approached the problem from a uniquely human perspective. "Captain," she called out excitedly, "I think I understand what is happening. These signals are not just random communications. They are scanning us." "Scanning us? How do you know?" "The patterns are too systematic. They sweep across different frequencies in organized sequences. Someone out there is studying us very carefully." Yuna had correctly identified the investigation fleet's activities. What she did not realize was that her insight had solved a puzzle that had confused the galaxy's greatest scientists for hours. The breakthrough came when Yuna decided to respond to the scans directly. Using the ship's communication array, she began transmitting a simple message in multiple formats: radio waves, laser pulses, and even modulated gravitational disturbances created by adjusting the ship's artificial gravity. "This is the human vessel Perseverance," she broadcast. "We are peaceful explorers from the planet Earth. We detect your scanning activities and wish to communicate." The message reached the investigation fleet in seconds. For the first time in galactic history, communication had been established with beings inside the Void Nexus. "They call themselves humans," reported the fleet's communication officer. "They claim to be from a planet called Earth, location unknown." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded immediate military response. Others called for full diplomatic contact. A few suggested that the whole situation was an elaborate hoax. "Impossible," declared the ethereal collective representative. "No species could evolve the ability to survive in the Void Nexus. It violates every principle of biology and physics." "Yet they are there," replied Chancellor Morden, "and they are talking to us." Dr. Junho aboard the Perseverance was conducting emergency medical checks on the crew. The strange environment was affecting everyone in subtle ways. Some crew members reported enhanced senses. Others described feeling more alert and focused than usual. "How do you feel?" he asked Pilot Isul. "Strange, sir. It is like I can sense things that are not visible. I keep getting feelings about which direction to fly, even when our instruments show nothing." "Any physical symptoms?" "No, sir. Actually, I feel better than I have in months, more awake, more aware." Dr. Junho was documenting similar reports from across the crew. Instead of being harmed by their journey through the nebula, the humans seemed to be adapting and even thriving in the strange environment. The council finally reached a decision after 12 hours of debate. They would attempt formal first, contact using standard protocols. A carefully worded message would be transmitted to the human ship, introducing the Galactic Council and requesting basic information about their species and origins. "Attention, human vessel," came the transmission, broadcast in mathematical concepts that the Perseverance's computer could process. "This is the Galactic Council representing 47 civilized species. We welcome you to our galaxy and request peaceful communication." On the bridge of the Perseverance, the entire crew gathered around the communication station as Nari played the message. The translation software had worked perfectly, converting the alien mathematics into clear human language. "Sir," Nari said to Captain Tai-hyun, her voice shaking with excitement, "we have just received a message from something called the Galactic Council. They represent 47 different alien species." Tae-hyun stared at the display screen. In all their years of space travel, humans had never encountered any sign of intelligent alien life. Now they had apparently stumbled into the middle of a galactic civilization. "How many species did they say?" Admiral Hyon asked. 47, sir, and they are welcoming us to their galaxy." The crew stood in stunned silence. They had left Earth as explorers seeking new worlds. They had never imagined they would become humanity's first ambassadors to an alien civilization. "Prepare a response," Tae-hyun ordered. "Tell them we are honored by their welcome and eager to learn about their civilization." The response was transmitted immediately. Within the investigation fleet, linguists and xenobiologists worked frantically to analyze every word. The human's language was unlike anything in the galactic databases, but it showed remarkable complexity and sophistication. "They appear to have evolved independently," reported the fleet's linguistic specialist. "Their language, the galaxy was splitting apart. News of the humans' impossible journey had spread to every inhabited system, causing the greatest political crisis in 10,000 years. Ancient alliances crumbled as species chose sides in debates about what humanity's existence meant for the galactic order. In the council chambers, the emergency session had lasted for 5 days without recess. Representatives argued through holographic connections while their home worlds descended into chaos. The simple fact that humans could survive in the void nexus had shattered fundamental beliefs about physics, biology, and the nature of reality itself. Ambassador Zethkol of the Ethereal Collective flickered with patterns of rage and fear. "These humans threaten the very foundation of our society. For millions of years, we have been the most advanced consciousness-based life forms in the galaxy. Now primitive beings mock our achievements simply by existing." Representative Killmoth of the Harmony Covenant swayed his silver branches in disagreement. "You speak of threat where we should see opportunity. If humans can access the forbidden regions, they could help us reclaim vast areas of space that have been lost to us." "Reclaim them for what purpose?" demanded Ambassador Vextar of the Trade Federation. "The Void Nexus and similar regions were sealed off because they contain dangers we cannot comprehend. Opening them could unleash catastrophes across the galaxy." Chancellor Morden struggled to maintain order as the debate grew more heated. Several species had already withdrawn their ambassadors from the council. Others were mobilizing their fleets, though no one was certain whether for protection or conquest. On the Perseverance, Security Chief Kyung was monitoring the increasing number of alien transmissions directed at their ship. What had started as curious scientific inquiries had evolved into something more complex and potentially dangerous. "Captain," he reported to the bridge. "We are now receiving messages from 43 different alien governments. Some are friendly, but others sound demanding or threatening." "What kind of threats?" Captain Tae-hyun asked. "Several species are demanding that we share our void navigation technology immediately. Others are ordering us to leave their territory. A few are offering military protection in exchange for exclusive access to our abilities." Admiral Hyon studied the tactical display. "How many ships are tracking us now?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors cannot detect most of their technology, but based on the communication sources, I estimate at least 200 vessels are observing us from various distances." The Perseverance had become the center of a galactic storm without its crew fully understanding why. To them, they were simply flying through an unusual nebula. They had no idea that their routine journey was being viewed as either salvation or damnation by civilizations across the galaxy. The political crisis deepened when the Purity Assembly, a coalition of the galaxy's oldest civilizations, issued a formal declaration demanding human quarantine. "These beings represent contamination of the natural order," proclaimed High Purifier Zelmoth in a galaxy-wide broadcast. "They violate the sacred laws that govern reality itself. They must be contained before their existence corrupts the fundamental structure of space and time." This declaration triggered immediate responses from opposing factions. The Seeker Alliance announced they would protect human vessels and assist in their exploration. The Trade Federation began calculating the economic value of void access rights. Smaller civilizations scrambled to choose sides before the galaxy descended into war. Aboard the Perseverance, linguistic specialist Yuna was working frantically to translate and understand the flood of alien communications. The complexity of galactic politics was overwhelming, but certain patterns were becoming clear. "Captain," she reported, "it appears we have accidentally started a political revolution. Some alien species see us as proof that their scientific theories are wrong. Others believe we could help them expand into regions of space they cannot currently access." "And the rest?" Tae-hyun asked. "They think we are dangerous and should be eliminated or contained." Communications Officer Nari had been monitoring military communications between alien fleets. "Sir, several species are moving warships toward our position. I cannot tell if they mean to protect us or capture us." The situation escalated when the first shots were fired. Not at the humans, but between alien factions. A Purity Assembly interceptor attempted to block a Seeker Alliance research vessel from approaching the Void Nexus. The brief firefight that followed marked the beginning of what historians would later call the Paradigm War. Medical Officer Hannah brought disturbing news to the bridge. "Captain, I have been analyzing the alien communications we have received. Several species are requesting detailed biological samples from our crew. They want blood, tissue samples, and neural scans." "For what purpose?" "They believe they can reverse engineer our abilities and create artificial versions of human void resistance." Dr. Junho had been studying the same requests from a scientific perspective. "Sir, some of these procedures would be harmful, or even lethal to human subjects. They do not understand human biology well enough to conduct safe research." The requests for biological samples revealed how desperately various species wanted to unlock humanity's secrets. The Machina Syndicate offered to trade their most advanced technology for human genetic material. The Ethereal Collective demanded consciousness scans that would have destroyed human minds. Even normally peaceful species made requests that showed they viewed humans more as experimental subjects than as intelligent beings. Engineer Jiho made a discovery that added another dimension to their situation. Captain, the ship's systems are adapting to this environment in ways I have never seen before. The hull is becoming more resistant to the strange radiation. The engines are running more efficiently. It is like the ship itself is evolving. Evolving? How? The molecular structure of our hull plating is changing. Not enough to affect structural integrity, but enough to better handle the quantum distortions we are flying through. Our computers are processing information faster. Even our life support systems are working better than design specifications. Pilot. ISIL confirmed similar observations from the navigation department. Sir, our flight controls are responding more smoothly than they ever have before. It is like the ship knows where it wants to go. These adaptations were not limited to the ship's systems. Biologist Sora had been secretly monitoring the crew's biological changes. What she found was both exciting and terrifying. Captain, she reported in a private meeting, the crew is undergoing subtle genetic modifications. Our DNA is adapting to the void environment in real time. We are literally evolving as we fly through this region. Is it dangerous? I do not think so. The changes appear beneficial. Enhanced cognitive function, improved physical coordination, increased resistance to radiation and gravitational stress. But the implications are staggering. The revelation that humans were actively evolving in response to void exposure sent shockwaves through the galactic scientific community. It suggested that humanity's resistance to reality distortion was not a fixed trait, but an adaptive capability that improved with exposure. The Galactic Council faced its greatest crisis as member species began withdrawing from treaties and alliances. The Harmony Covenant opened diplomatic relations with humanity directly, bypassing Council protocols. The Trade Federation started making secret deals for exclusive human navigation services. The Purity Assembly declared the Council corrupt and established their own governing body. Chancellor Mordun made a desperate attempt to prevent total galactic war. I propose we invite the humans to address the Council directly. Let them speak for themselves about their intentions and capabilities. Absolutely not, declared the ethereal collective representative. We will not legitimize these reality violators by giving them a platform. The decision is made, Mordun replied. Emergency protocols give me the authority to act without full council approval during existential crises. The invitation was transmitted to the Perseverance within hours. Captain Tae-hyun gathered his senior officers to discuss their response. They want us to address their entire government, he explained. 47 species, representing millions of worlds. They are asking us to explain humanity's place in the galaxy. Sir, Admiral Hyun said carefully, we are explorers, not diplomats. We have no authority to speak for all humanity. But we are the only humans they have met, Security Chief Kyung pointed out. Whether we like it or not, we have become humanity's representatives. Captain Tae-hyun looked at his crew, engineers, scientists, and soldiers who had left Earth to explore space. Now they carried the responsibility of defining humanity's relationship with an entire galaxy of alien civilizations. Prepare our response, he decided. We will address their council, but we speak only for ourselves and our mission. We cannot make promises for our entire species. As the Perseverance continued its journey toward the heart of impossibility, the galaxy held its breath. The political upheaval caused by humanity's existence was spreading across thousands of star systems. Ancient powers were choosing sides. Old treaties were dissolving. New alliances were forming. And at the center of it all, a small human ship flew through impossible space, its crew still believing they were simply trying to get home. The challenge came from the most unexpected source. High Admiral Kexhan of the Military Directorate, a species known for their cold logic and strategic thinking, transmitted a message that silenced the entire galactic debate. The human claims are extraordinary, his mechanical voice announced across all communication channels. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. We propose a test. The proposal reached the Perseverance during their scheduled address to the Galactic Council. Captain Taehyun had been speaking for 3 hours, explaining humanity's history, technology, and peaceful intentions. The alien representatives listened with varying degrees of skepticism and fascination. What kind of test? Chancellor Morden asked during the live transmission. High Admiral Kexhan displayed a star chart showing a region of space marked in dark red. The Crimson Maze, a lesser void region that has been impassable for 1,000 years. Quantum instabilities. Destroy any vessel that enters. If the humans can navigate this region successfully, it will prove their claims about void resistance. The challenge created immediate controversy. Representatives began arguing before the Admiral finished speaking. "This is barbaric," declared Representative Killmoth. "You are asking them to risk their lives to satisfy our curiosity. Better to test them on a smaller challenge than risk greater disasters later," the Admiral replied. "If they fail, we lose. One primitive ship. If they succeed, we gain proof of abilities that could change the galaxy." Ambassador Zethkol flickered with approval. Finally, a logical approach. Either these humans possess the abilities they claim, or they perish in the attempt. Either outcome resolves our current crisis. On the bridge of the Perseverance, the crew watched the alien debate with growing concern. The test they described sounded like a death sentence disguised as a scientific experiment. "Sir," Pilot Isul said quietly, "according to their star charts, this Crimson Maze is even more dangerous than the region we are currently flying through. Can we refuse?" Admiral Hyon asked. Communications Officer Nari checked the incoming messages. "Sir, several alien factions are supporting the test proposal. If we refuse, they might interpret it as proof that our abilities are limited or false." Dr. Junyo had been analyzing the data about the Crimson Maze. "Captain, the alien descriptions of this region match what we have been experiencing in our current location. Gravitational anomalies, reality distortions, impossible physics. If their information is accurate, we should be able to navigate it." "Should be able to," Taehyun repeated. "That is not the same as certainty." Engineer Jiho offered a different perspective. "Sir, we have been flying through what they call the most dangerous region in the galaxy for over a week. Our ship has not only survived, but improved. Maybe their lesser void region will actually be easier for us." The debate continued for hours as alien factions pressured both sides. Conservative species demanded the test as proof of human claims. Progressive species argued it was an unnecessary risk. Military organizations saw it as a practical demonstration of capabilities that could affect galactic strategy. Captain Taehyun finally made his decision. "We will accept the test, but on our conditions. We choose our own route through the region. We maintain communication with our observers. And if our ship is damaged, the alien fleets provide assistance." "Agreed," High Admiral Kexhan replied. "Immediately. We will deploy observation posts around the Crimson Maze to monitor your attempt." The journey to the test site took 2 days. During this time, the Perseverance was escorted by a fleet of over 300 alien vessels representing every major civilization in the galaxy. The largest scientific expedition in galactic history had assembled to witness humanity's trial. By impossible physics, xenobiologist Cathera commanded the lead observation ship. Her tentacles writhed with nervous energy as she studied the approaching crimson maze. Deploy all sensors. I want continuous monitoring of the human vessel from the moment it enters the maze. The crimson maze lived up to its name. Streams of red energy twisted through space in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Reality bent and folded in visible ways. Space itself seemed to scream with quantum agony. Probe deployment complete, reported the observation fleet's science officer. All automated probes destroyed within 30 seconds of entry. The maze is functioning normally. Aboard the Perseverance, the crew made final preparations for their test flight. Medical Officer Hana conducted last-minute health checks. Security. Chief Kyung secured all equipment. Engineer Minho performed final system diagnostics. All systems optimal, Jiho reported from the engine room. The ship is actually running better than it has since we left Earth. Pilot Isol studied the navigation charts of the Crimson Maze. The alien maps showed a twisted path through unstable space, with multiple routes of varying difficulty. "Captain," she said, "I recommend we take the most direct path through the center. It looks dangerous on their charts, but my instincts say it will be the smoothest route for us." "Your instincts." "Sir, ever since we entered this region of space, I have been able to sense the safest paths through the distortions. It is like the dangerous areas feel wrong, while the safe routes feel right. This navigation instinct was uniquely human. The alien observers had no understanding of how humans could sense safe passage through regions where their instruments detected only chaos and death. Beginning our approach to the Crimson Maze, Tae-hyun announced to the observation fleet. We are proceeding with standard navigation protocols. What the aliens witnessed next would be studied for generations. The Perseverance entered the Crimson Maze at normal cruising speed, flying directly toward the most dangerous region shown on their charts. The alien sensors detected reality distortions that should have torn the ship apart instantly. Instead, the human vessel flew through the maze like it was empty space. "Impossible," Kethara whispered as she watched the sensor readings. "They are flying through quantum instabilities that register as Category 10 hazards. Their hull should be experiencing molecular dissolution. Yet their ship shows no damage," reported the observation fleet's technical specialist. "If anything, their hull integrity is improving as they progress through the maze." The explanation came from biologist Sora, who was monitoring the ship's biological and technical systems during the flight. "Captain, the maze environment is causing the same adaptive improvements we experienced in the Void Nexus. Our systems are evolving in real time to handle the distortions." "How is that possible?" "I believe it is connected to human consciousness, sir. Our minds naturally adapt to impossible conditions. This adaptation somehow extends to our technology and environment." This revelation was transmitted to the observation fleet, causing another storm of debate among the alien scientists. The idea that consciousness could influence physical reality was accepted by some species, but rejected by others as primitive superstition. Pilot Isol navigated the Crimson Maze with growing confidence. What the aliens saw as deadly obstacles, she perceived as navigational challenges, no different from flying through an asteroid field or solar storm. "The path ahead looks clear," she reported. "I am detecting what feels like a stable corridor leading to the exit point." The alien instruments showed no such corridor. Their sensors detected only increasing chaos and instability in the direction the humans were heading. Yet the Perseverance continued flying through regions that should have been impossible to navigate. "They are approaching the Crimson Core," announced the observation fleet commander. "No probe has ever survived passage through that region." The Crimson Core was the heart of the maze, where quantum instabilities reached their peak intensity. Space twisted into impossible geometries. Time flowed backward and forward simultaneously. Matter existed in multiple states at once. The Perseverance flew through it all without slowing down. "Transit complete," Captain Tae-hyun announced as his ship emerged from the far side of the Crimson Maze. "All systems nominal. No damage detected." The observation fleet fell silent. 300 ships filled with the galaxy's greatest scientists and military leaders watched in stunned amazement as the primitive human vessel completed a journey that their most advanced technology deemed impossible. Time elapsed through the maze. 4 hours, 17 minutes, reported the fleet's chronometer specialist. Previous record for survival in the maze, 0 minutes, 37 seconds. High Admiral Kexhan was the first to respond. "The test is conclusive. Human claims are verified. They possess abilities that exceed our understanding of physics and biology. The implications hit the galaxy like a shock wave. If humans could navigate the forbidden regions with such ease, then vast areas of space that had been sealed off for millennia were suddenly accessible. The galaxy would have to be remapped. History would have to be rewritten." "Captain," Communications Officer Nari announced, "we are receiving congratulations from alien fleets across the galaxy. Several species are requesting immediate meetings to discuss navigation partnerships." Captain Tae-hyun looked at his crew with pride and concern. They had proven humanity's capabilities beyond any doubt, but they had also painted a target on their species that might never fade. "Set course for home," he ordered. "We have a lot to report to Earth." The Perseverance departed the Crimson Maze region, escorted by the largest. 6 months after the successful transit of the Crimson Maze, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The simple journey of the Perseverance had triggered the greatest expansion of galactic civilization in recorded history. Regions of space that had been forbidden for millennia were suddenly bustling with exploration fleets, research stations, and new colonies. The transformation began immediately after humanity's triumphant demonstration. Engineer Jiho found himself serving as the first human, technical advisor to the Galactic Council, working with alien scientists to understand how human technology interfaced with void environments. "The key is not to fight the distortions," he explained to a mixed audience of crystalline engineers and Machina Syndicate technicians. "Our systems adapt by accepting the impossible conditions and working within them rather than against them." This concept revolutionized galactic engineering. For thousands of years, alien civilizations had tried to overcome void environments through brute force technology, reality anchors, quantum shields, and exotic matter barriers. Humans succeeded by embracing the chaos and finding harmony within it. Communications Officer Nari had been promoted to Earth's first galactic ambassador, a position created specifically to manage the flood of contact requests from alien civilizations. Her office aboard the newly constructed diplomatic station received hundreds of messages daily from species eager to establish relationships with humanity. "The Seeker Alliance wants to form a joint exploration initiative," she reported during her weekly briefing to Earth Command. "The Trade Federation is offering technology exchanges. Even the Purity Assembly has expressed interest in limited cooperation. The transformation was not limited to diplomacy and trade." Dr. Junho had become the director of the galaxy's first human-alien medical research institute, studying how human biology interacted with void environments. His research was revealing fundamental truths about consciousness and reality that challenged scientific understanding across dozens of species. Human neural patterns create localized stability fields, he explained to his research team, which included representatives from 12 different species. Our brains somehow generate quantum coherence that allows normal physics to function in reality-distorted regions. This discovery led to the development of consciousness-based navigation, systems that allowed other species to traverse some of the lesser void regions. While they could not match human capabilities, aliens could now access areas that had been sealed off for centuries. The Perseverance itself had become the flagship of the new galactic exploration fleet. Captain Tae-hyun commanded a mixed crew of humans and aliens, exploring regions that had never been mapped by galactic civilization. The ship's original fusion engines had been supplemented with alien technology, but the human crew remained essential for navigation through impossible space. "Captain," Pilot Isul announced from her station, "we are approaching the Spiral Nebula. Sensors indicate significant void distortions ahead." The Spiral Nebula had been on the forbidden list for over 2,000 years. Now it was just another destination for the human-led exploration fleet. At Isol's side, an alien navigator from the geometric species monitored instruments that would guide non-human crew members through the journey. Engineer Minho had established the first human technical school for alien students. Species from across the galaxy sent their brightest engineers to learn human approaches to technology and problem-solving. The curriculum focused not on specific techniques, but on the human mindset that allowed adaptation to impossible conditions. "Remember," he told his class of alien engineering students, "human technology works because we do not assume we know all the rules. When something seems impossible, we ask what we are missing, not why it cannot work." This philosophy was transforming galactic engineering culture. Species that had relied on rigid scientific principles for millions of years were learning to embrace uncertainty and adaptation. The results were extraordinary. New technologies that combined human intuition with alien precision, creating capabilities that neither could achieve alone. Biologist Sora had become the head of the Galactic Life Sciences Consortium, leading research into how consciousness affected physical reality. Her studies revealed that humans were not unique in possessing reality adaptation abilities, but were simply the first species to evolve in an environment that required such capabilities. "Consciousness and reality are more connected than we previously understood," she explained to the Galactic Scientific Assembly. Human evolution on Earth included exposure to quantum fields that other species never encountered. This gave us abilities that we considered normal but are actually extraordinary. Her research led to the discovery of similar capabilities in several other species, dormant genetic traits that could be activated through controlled exposure to void environments. The galaxy was not just learning from humans. It was discovering hidden potential within itself. Security Chief Kyung had established the Galactic Security Cooperation Initiative, working with military organizations across dozens of species to ensure that humanity's new role in the galaxy remained peaceful. The challenge was significant, as not all species welcomed human abilities or the changes they brought. 3 more incidents this week, he reported to the Security Council. The isolation movement tried to sabotage a human-led exploration mission. The Purity Assembly is still calling for human quarantine, and the Supremacy faction wants to capture humans for forced genetic research. Despite these challenges, the majority of galactic civilization had embraced the new era. The economic benefits alone were staggering. Access to previously forbidden, Regions had revealed new resources, ancient technologies, and habitable worlds that expanded the galaxy's carrying capacity by thousands of percent. Medical Officer Hana was working with alien physicians to understand how human medical knowledge could benefit other species. Human approaches to healing, based on working with natural biological processes rather than overriding them, proved surprisingly effective for many alien physiologies. Human medicine emphasizes adaptation and healing from within, she explained, to a conference of galactic medical practitioners. We help the body heal itself rather than imposing external solutions. This approach works across species barriers because it respects biological diversity. The most dramatic changes occurred in the regions that had been sealed off for millennia. The heart of impossibility, the region at the center of the void nexus that no alien probe had ever survived, became humanity's greatest discovery. Linguistic. Specialist Yuna had been part of the first human expedition to reach the heart. What they found there changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about its own history. "It is a library," she announced to the stunned Galactic Council during her report. "The heart of impossibility contains a vast database left behind by the civilization that created the void regions. They were not natural phenomena. They were built as a test." The ancient civilization, which had vanished millions of years before the current galactic community evolved, had created the void regions as a challenge for future intelligent species. The message they left behind was clear. Only species that could transcend their limitations and embrace the impossible would be worthy of inheriting their knowledge. Humans were the first species to pass the test, Yuna continued. But now that the path has been opened, others can follow. The void regions will gradually become stable as more consciousness-based navigation occurs within them. This revelation explained why human presence seemed to improve void conditions. Each human transit through impossible space left traces of quantum coherence that made subsequent journeys easier for all species. Admiral Hyon had been promoted to commander of the new Galactic Exploration Command, overseeing mixed species crews, as they mapped regions that had been blank spaces on galactic charts for thousands of years. His flagship was a massive vessel that combined human adaptability with the best technology from dozens of civilizations. "Today we launch our 100th exploration mission," he announced at the ceremony marking 6 months of the new era. Teams, from 47 species working together to explore regions our ancestors considered impossible to reach. The ceremony was held at the site of humanity's greatest achievement, a permanent research station established at the edge of the heart of impossibility. The station served as a symbol of what could be accomplished when species worked together instead of limiting themselves to what they thought was possible. Captain Tae-hyun stood at the observation deck of the research station, looking out at the swirling energies of the heart. His crew had started this journey as simple explorers seeking new worlds. Now they had become catalysts for the greatest expansion in galactic history. "Captain," Nari approached him with the latest reports. "Earth Command wants to know when you are planning to return home." Tae-hyun smiled. "Home is wherever we are exploring. Next, Earth will always be there, but opportunities like this come once in a galactic age." The Perseverance was preparing for another mission, this time to investigate reports of additional ancient sites discovered in recently accessible regions. The crew had evolved from explorers to pioneers, opening pathways for entire civilizations to follow. As the research station bustled with activity from dozens of species,